New York Giants Week 16 reaction. The Giants take this one 41-35 in overtime. Caden Smith with the game winner. The offense looked really good in this one. Daniel Jones looked unbelievable. I mean, he's setting some crazy records this year. This is like his fourth game of I think it was 350 yards and 4 touchdowns or more or something crazy like that. So he's doing some really nice things. You have to be very encouraged with what you've seen from Daniel Jones. I don't think he lost like one fumble, but I think Zeitler recovered it. So no turnovers today, thank God for Jones. This was an all-around great game for him. Saquon Barkley was tremendous. We'll get into all of that. Of course, this game was not good for the draft position. I'm one of the fans that would rather have the second overall pick instead of winning this game, but it is what it is. So right now, the Giants have the fourth overall pick in the draft as it stands, but of course, next week could determine and fix that spot as well. So we'll see what happens next week, obviously, with the draft position, but right now it's number 4 overall, so we have to deal with that. Redskins have number 2 overall as it stands right now. So let's start with the offense and how they did in this game first. So offensively, a lot of good things in this one. As I said before, Daniel Jones had 352 yards and 5 touchdowns, no turnovers. Saquon Barkley was averaging 8.6 a carry, 189 yards, and 2 touchdowns basically if you include the receiving one. Golden Tate was 6 for 96. Saquon in the receiving game was 6 for 76. Guys like Caden Smith, Cody Latimer, who else? And even Sterling Shepard had some nice catches in there. I don't think Slayton did much today, but he can take a week off. He's been doing too much this year anyway, it seems like. So they had 552 total offensive yards. Those are some great numbers. I know it's the Redskins defense and all, but still, that's great to put up against anybody. So I love seeing that. They were 8 for 14 on third downs. That's definitely great, a great conversion rate right there. Saquon and Daniel Jones, I mean, these guys, back-to-back first-round picks the last 2 years. You love seeing these guys develop, and Saquon's looked a lot better the last 2 weeks, and I understand it's against run defenses that aren't that good, but at the same time, you love seeing that. The run blocking was great in this game as well. So Caden Smith, I mean, I think he's done a lot of nice things for this team since he's been playing a lot, since Engram's been out, and I think for 2020, I mean, he's definitely got to be back. I mean, I don't know if he's your starter going into next year. I honestly could see Gettleman trading Evan Engram this offseason. I don't know for what, probably like a second-round pick if I had to, guess something, but I don't know what's going to happen, honestly. It would not shock me if he was traded. I'm just putting it out there. I hope it doesn't happen. I'd rather have Engram because he can do a lot of things that tight ends can't do. And I understand he does not play a lot. I mean, I think he's played 60-something% of his games since being in the NFL, which is not a great number. But when he's out there, the guy's a good player. So, I mean, there's a lot of differences because, Caden Smith's not the type of tight end that can take a drag route for 70 yards like we've seen Evan Engram do before. But at the same time, Caden Smith has proved that he's a good blocker and a reliable receiver, and he's definitely a cheap option because I think he was picked up as a waiver wire free agent, so they're probably not paying him much at all. So that's definitely a positive. So I personally hope they work it out with Evan Engram and can go into next year with him as the starting tight end because I'd rather have that depth. I think they cut Red Ellison in the offseason because I think he's owed, I forget how much, but he's owed a decent amount of money, at least, over $5 million. So I think they cut him, and then we'll roll into next year with a healthy Engram, hopefully, and then Caden Smith as well. So we'll see what happens with them. The run blocking was great in this game. Kevin Zeitler came back at right guard, which was a surprise. Who was it? At right tackle, Mike Remmers left this game, and then Nick Gates came in and played right tackle. I thought he looked pretty good in this one. So I think that Daniel Jones' footwork was great in this game. I mean, maybe I'm saying it because I've seen Eli Manning play the last 2 weeks, and you kind of realize that footwork's not too great. But then you watch Daniel Jones today. I thought his footwork was great, so I love seeing that. Riley Dixon and even Cody Core, they made some great plays on special teams. I think Dixon had 2 really good punts in this game, and Cody Core had a nice play downing the ball at the 1-yard line. So that was great to see on special teams, and the special teams for the Giants has been great the last few years as well. I like the part in the game where Will Hernandez was standing up for Daniel Jones. There was a late hit by one of the Redskins, and it was a weird play. Jones was halfway down. The linebacker, I think, went for a headshot, hit him right in the helmet. And, of course, Will Hernandez got in the guy's face. Even Saquon Barkley was in Landon Collins' face, which was kind of funny. I mean, these guys are former teammates, so it was funny to see that. And I'm happy that team has some fire in them, so I like seeing that. I thought Pat Shurmur called a tremendous game in this one, honestly. I mean, I know I'm not allowed to say it and compliment Pat Shurmur, but honestly, I mean, I went back and watched this game because I had friends over today. I wasn't watching the game too closely, honestly, live. Went back and watched it, and I was like, wow, I mean, Pat Shurmur called himself a nice game today, so have to give him credit there. Nick Gates was good at right tackle. When I went back and watched, I focused on him a lot. he really didn't allow too many pressures. I don't think, maybe one or two, but at the same time, he was pretty good at right tackle. So, I mean, he's an option next year. I'm not opposed to bringing Mike Remmers back at right tackle for one more year. Of course, they could draft a right tackle as well. So there's a lot of ways to go about it, but at least the Giants have options there, whether it's Remmers or Gates or a possible draft pick and even free agency. So there's a lot of options, of course. The negatives, not many today. So there was one throw that Jones missed to Slayton. There was like a deep out cut, and Slayton was wide open. So that's, unfortunate. It was a 1st and 10. That's the one bad thing I have to say about Daniel Jones in this game. But outside of that, the guy was perfect, so I'm just not going to get into that. And Aldrick Rosas missed a 53-yard field goal that would have put them up. I forget how much. I don't know what the score was. I think it was early fourth quarter, so they might have been up by 7 at that point. Could have made it a 10-point game if I remember correctly. But yes, I mean, that's tough to make, obviously. And Rosas has been inconsistent this year, and it sucks to see that. But at the same time, I don't know what they're going to do about that. It's going to be interesting to see what they do with the kicking position. I don't think they signed Rosas to an extension yet. I'm pretty sure they didn't. I'm pretty sure he's still making not too much money right now. So, I mean, really, it's up to the ownership. They're not really tied into this guy or anything like that. So we'll see if, once again, they draft somebody or try to bring in a kicker via a trade. I don't even know. But we'll see what happens with Rosas next year. It obviously has not been pretty the whole season, but I, for some reason, still have confidence in the guy. I feel like he can fix it. We see it a lot where kickers go through like these just really bad they have bad stretches during their careers, and then they just find ways to revive their careers. I mean, we saw it with like Mason Crosby last year, had a very rough stretch. Chris Boswell had a rough stretch. I'm sure, a lot of kickers have bad stretches. I can't really think of any, but I'm sure a lot of bad kickers go through times in their career where things aren't going their way, but they find a way to fix it mechanically or confidence-wise, whatever it is, and maybe a whole off season of just getting back to the basics and doing what he did 2 years ago would definitely benefit him. So hopefully we'll see him back next year. Maybe they bring in some competition next year in camp to put Rosas in a position where he has to play well, kind of like what the Giants didn't do with Eric Flowers for many years at left tackle, not give him enough competition and make him feel like the job was his. So hopefully the Giants bring in some competition to kicker next year and see if they fix that problem. But, I really can't complain about the offense today. 41 points is great. As I said, I know it's the Redskins defense, but overall, Shurmur was great play calling. Daniel Jones was great. Saquon Barkley, a bunch of guys, receivers, Golden Tate, Sterling Shepard, Caden Smith, Latimer, everyone. I think everyone played great on offense today, so I have nothing bad to say about that. So now let's get into the defense. So the positives on defense, Dalvin Tomlinson and his run stopping. I mean, he showed up on the screen many times today with some nice run stops, and I mean, I think I give him credit every week now, but he's been playing really well, so I have to give him some props for that. The pass rushers today, Lorenzo Carter finally had like a really nice game in this one. I mean, he had like 1.5 sacks, I think it was, got to the quarterback a few times, so you love seeing that. Marcus Golden was good as usual. I think he had 1 sack. Leonard Williams probably didn't have a sack, but he had some good pressures in there. He forced a holding call on Flowers as well at one point, so that was good to see. And even BJ Hill had a sack, so that's like, maybe his first or second of the year. It has not been many, but it's nice to see BJ Hill finally get one in there. So leading tacklers in this game were all rookies: DeAndre Baker, Julian Love, Sam Beal, and sometimes it's not good when your cornerbacks are leading in tackles, but at the same time, you need corners to make tackles if you're going to be a good defense, and I only say that because that just shows you that the receivers had a good game in this one, and it's true. I mean, the McLaurin had a good game, the Sims guy had a nice game, trying to think who else. I mean, I don't even know who plays receiver for the Redskins nowadays, but still, you know what I mean. They had some good receivers in this game, so I mean, that's not always a good thing when your corners lead in tackles, but at the same time, they made some run stops as well, so that's definitely a positive. The negatives, Antoine Bethea, I say this every week as well, he allowed the second touchdown in the corner. I don't know what was going on. He was focused on like directing the linebackers where to go, and then, the play snapped and guy runs a corner route. Easy touchdown on Bethea, so I don't know. Hated seeing that. DeAndre Baker didn't continue his positive streak, so I thought DeAndre Baker the last 2 weeks looked really good. The Eagles game specifically, the Dolphins one. I mean, he had some, maybe a couple of bad plays in there, but for the most part had a good game. And this one had a kind of a rough first half. It got better as the game went on. Had a penalty in there as well that put the Redskins on the 1-yard line. So I think, for the most part, Baker wasn't terrible today, but I think it's a slight step back as to what we saw the last 2 weeks, but these things happen, so I'm not too worried about it. Missed tackles as usual. I'm sure there were more, but I pointed out Bethea and Deon Buchanan. I was going to say Buchanan and Antoine Bethea. So I forget when they happened exactly, but I think the Bethea one was on McLaurin, and he dove for a first down. He basically spun out of a tackle. The one with Buchanan, I can't remember, but you guys probably know what I'm talking about. But yeah, so some missed tackles as usual. I think Julian Love had one as well. So yeah, it wasn't perfect with tackling today, but I guess it was better than usual, so I'll give him some credit there. Corey Ballantyne definitely struggled. Gave up some big plays in this one. I think back to that play, the third down and long on the drive where the Redskins went 99 yards to tie it up. He allowed the first big completion there over the middle. There was one play down the sideline, the Sims, where he dove and missed a long ball, but it was a route that Ballantyne fell for. It was like a fake out route, and then he went deep, and Ballantyne bit on that, and he had him beat by a couple steps, but luckily it was overthrown. So Ballantyne definitely struggled in this one. He hasn't looked great yet so far, but this guy's like a 6th-round rookie, so I'm not concerned about it. We'll see what kind of strides he makes next year. That's a big year for him. But at the same time, I got to give the Giants coaching staff credit for giving him playing time. I like that. The best way you can learn is by experiencing it in person, so I like that they're putting him out here in a lost season and letting him just learn on the fly, basically. I like that, so at least he's not sitting on the bench. They gave up 361 total yards offensively and 35 points to Washington. That's not good, obviously, so their starting quarterback was out most of the game. He did play half the game, Haskins, but at the same time, Case Keenum's a good quarterback as well. I don't know how good. He's a serviceable quarterback, I should say. That's the way I'll put it. But yeah, so they didn't have Darius Geist, their best running back, and they had McLaurin. So the Redskins have some decent weapons on their team, but you should not be giving up 35 points to that team. I feel like that's a bit too much. The defense was given some a bad field position on the block punt, so I'll give them a pass there, but still 28 points, 35 points. You get it. It wasn't a great performance by the defense today. And we'll finish off with general notes. So Alec Ogletree didn't play in this one. I don't think he played a snap, honestly. He had a back injury that popped up right before the game started or something like that. I forget what the tweet said. But yeah, he didn't play in this game. Honestly, didn't even notice. I'm not going to notice whether he's out there or not. But it was kind of nice not to see him out there because he just annoys me. It's kind of like Antoine Bethea. Just watching him kind of annoys me. So I'm happy Ogletree was not out there. We gave Buchanan a chance, and Buchanan had some bright moments and some not so good moments, so it's kind of the same thing with Ogletree, but at least he's a little faster than Ogletree, so I'll take that. But the draft position, so I talked about it before briefly. So right now the Giants dropped from 2 to 4. They are behind the Lions as well, who lost to the Denver Broncos. So I guess if we lose next week and the Lions win, I guess we're back to 3. I don't think we can get back to 2 now, I'm pretty sure, because we beat the Redskins both games, so I think they should hold the tiebreaker. It might be strength of schedule. I forget how the tiebreaker works, but still, I think we'll get number 3, best case scenario, but we have to lose next week, and I think Detroit has to win next week. So I'll see who Detroit plays real quick, actually, because I honestly have no idea, but we'll see if we can have them win that game. This says they play Green Bay. So I don't know if Green Bay is in a position where they can bench their players. I don't know if they have to play for anything. I think they have their division wrapped up, so does Green Bay play tomorrow? I'm trying to think. Yeah, they play tomorrow, I think. Yeah, they play Minnesota tomorrow. Okay, yeah, so that's definitely a big game. So I think as Giant fans, we have to root for the Packers to win tomorrow, and hopefully they bench their players in Week 17, and maybe Detroit beats them. That's really the best case scenario to get to number 3, but I think in all likelihood right now we get number 4. We play the Eagles next week. I think we're at home. They'll definitely be hungry in that one because they kind of have to win that game. Not have to, but basically, they think they have to because, they played Dallas today. Of course, they beat them, which was huge. But if the Eagles lose next week and I think Dallas wins, then I think Dallas makes the playoffs over the Eagles. So, of course, they're going to want to win that game. So that's going to be a tough one. I do think the Giants lose next week and go to 4-12. The Eagles have a lot of injuries, but Carson Wentz has looked really good the last 3 weeks. So, I shouldn't say really good, but he's, put the team on his back, honestly. He has not had much receiving help with that team. Outside of the 2 tight ends, he's working with some practice squad guys and the 4th and 5th receivers and making it work. So, got to give Carson Wentz some credit there, and I don't really trust the Giants secondary to stop him on this hot streak right now in a must-win game. It would be nice, to go 5-11. That would be great and all, but I just don't see it happening. So, 4-12 is probably what they're going to finish at. I feel a little better about Pat Shurmur maybe keeping his job, but if I had to put money on it, I'm still saying he gets fired. But you guys know how I feel about it. I don't want Shermer gone and Gettleman to stay. I really think they should be tied together. It makes no sense to me because, I'll just throw out this fake scenario for you real quick. So, let's say that the Giants fire Shermer, they hire Ron Rivera. The Giants struggle again next year. They fire Gettleman, and then the new GM, they bring in 2020, maybe doesn't like Ron Rivera. Is that a one-year coach? Do you really want to go through that and change coaches again? I just honestly want this to be these two tied together. If you're going to keep Gettleman and you decide that, just bring back Shermer for 2020. That's honestly where I'm at. I don't see a point in keeping one and firing the other. It just makes no sense to me. So, honestly, Shermer deserves a lot of credit. I think Giant Insider said this, and I completely agree. I retweeted it and said I agree 100%. Daniel Jones, or Pat Shermer, deserves a lot of credit for the development of Daniel Jones. Coming out of college, he was a project. There was a reason I didn't want him at number 6 overall. I would have lived with it at 17 overall, but at 6, I was like, wow, that's kind of a reach. But I think that Daniel Jones, or Pat Shermer, deserves a lot of credit for what Daniel Jones has done this year. So, look, if he's back next year, I know it's not what we want. He's not a great game manager and that kind of stuff. Don't know what kind of motivator he is. But at the same time, he didn't lose the locker room the last 2 years. And these last 2 years have been rough. They don't have the locker room cancers anymore. They don't have the Eli Apples, Janoris Jenkins, and Landon Collins, even Odell. I know I don't really put Odell in that category, but you guys do, so I'll put him in there. So they don't have guys that are causing ruckus and all the bad vibes in the locker room. So I don't know. If they're going to bring Gettleman back, bring Shermer back, I think that makes the most sense to me. It just does not make sense to do one thing and not the other. We did it in 2015. We let Tom Coughlin go, and then we kept Jerry Reese, and then we just, it was weird. I just don't like when it happens at different times. I just feel like if you're going to fire one, you fire the other. That's just my opinion, so we'll see if you guys agree with that. But if you made it this far, I appreciate it, and we'll see if the Giants win next week. As I said before, don't expect it, but if they finish 5-11, I guess that's good. But we'll see what happens, and I'm sure the guys want it. I'm sure Shermer wants that victory very badly because ending the year 3 straight wins definitely looks good for him. So we'll see what happens with them next week, and I'll talk to you guys next time.